3 years from this week, I introduced the idea to many of you, and a lot of you had not familiarized what the topic is all about. So it was my job, my duty, to make sure I educate everyone, including employers like yourself, on this subject. So on the next slide here, I want to take the time to recognize quickly through the partners. For what I do, I don't have all the expertise, so I work with a variety of partners and peoples and expertise, informal and formally. And I want to say personally, thank you to my dad for the ones to actively support me since day one. So thank you, Dad. All right, when you think of these three words, I want you to be inspired. Be inspired about my stories and the stories that I share with you from people from all over the world. I also want you to think. Think about what I'm telling you, what I'm educating you on, or think about ways on how we can impact an untapped community of people with disabilities and sort of having social impact. And think about acting. At the end of my presentation, there are several things that I would like for each and every one of us to act on, because there are important things that we can do as an organization or as an employee or employer that can actually help a different community. Okay? Who I Am is an organization from What Can You Do campaign, and is sponsored by the federal government. The purpose of this video is that I want you guys to think about people. We're all different, we're all unique, and we have similarities in some way or shape or form. So the purpose of this video is to understand who we are as individuals. I have been having a hearing disability pretty much all my life. Most recently, I had neck surgery that limits my ability to move my neck, so I rely on my whole body to move. I had a weight problem, so the last several months, thanks to the support of my dad, he was worried that my weight could overpower my neck, my ability to have limitations. So I was motivated to lose weight. But the purpose of this video is not only to see me, but see other people. I mean, since some point of our life, we're gonna have some sort of disability, temporary or not. To be honest, a lot of us have glasses, but we have temporary or minor vision impairment. Some of us have problem hearing, but don't necessarily wear a hearing aid, but it's just very little. Maybe some of us have problem with dyslexia, or OCD, or ADD, or ADHD. There's just a lot of different types of disabilities. So part of my campaign is in empowering people, or people that don't necessarily show their disabilities, is to proudly self-identify. Because we as employers, if we're educated that you have a disability, one of the greatest things is that we as an employer can educate the candidate or the new employee, prospective employee, that we can accommodate you. But I'll show later a lot of myths that a lot of us think about, is like accommodation, the cost, the special facilities, and so forth. So my story is that I'm hearing impaired. I'm deaf in the right, partially deaf in the left, with a hearing aid. I can still hear, I read lips, so I don't really need to do sign language. I have a passion and love for people. I have that ability to engage and talk to large audience, thanks to my dad, so I thank him for that. I was never academically challenged in school, so that led to writing a book about my personal special education experience and not necessarily being challenged. So for that book, it has helped me to speak with other advocates, other people with disabilities, to sort of speak up or become self-advocates. So I speak in front of SPED students, candidates, parents like yourself, and professionals, people that are far older than me. But what I find to see is that constantly we're focused on the bigger issues, but we really need to focus on the little things that matter most. And I'll try to educate on that. And then I recently became a featured columnist for a national magazine. I write articles for magazines. I also became a blogger of my own company, committee member for the Texas Governor's Committee on People with Disabilities. That was a huge honor. It's my ability to represent 3.5 million Texans with disabilities and their families. And now I'm a disability diversity consultant for Next Career Consulting that connects with U.S. veterans and people with disabilities into the workforce for full-time careers, not necessarily jobs. So we train them on positions that they can fulfill and train them on disability diversity. Okay? Now, diversity and inclusion. This is going to be a big topic for us. How do we incorporate D&I to our company? Or how do we put it as part of our mission and as a separate issue? So there's just a lot of information. So a lot of these bigger companies, they did a lot of research. All of us. I did research on my dad's company, Wonders Ice Cream, Unilever, Blue Bunny, to you name it. I did a lot of research. And I did not see much, to be honest. It was not, it said D&I, or diversity, but it's not, it doesn't give a full description. People with disabilities or any other community, they want to know who you're talking to. They want to know, they want to be represented. So diversity, basically inclusion of individuals of different walks of life, including people with disabilities, color, religion, and sexual orientation. Social distance. Social distance. I relate to social distance. And social distance is as someone who is not part of the room, or someone is, there was an open seat, try to walk in, can I sit with you guys, ask politely? No, it was never included. I, for one instance, that I had a lot of interactions in school, in college, and wherever I go. I had a lot of people that were taller than me. I was the shortest in the class, and I would try to walk in and join the huddle. No, I was just never a part of that, and it still is happening today. I feel like I'm a little experienced guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Let's talk about it. So I was like, hey, listen to me, and maybe I have a difference in opinions, or there was just not enough interaction. So there was a trouble there. And then social inclusion. You guys have included me since day one, not just as my dad, but as me as an individual. And I truly accept that. And that's what and I've noticed as we've grown older, there are more and more people from different walks of life, different cultures, different backgrounds. And I started to see the IAICDV recognizing that and embracing that. I think it's great that if we could go to the next level and tap into a community that hasn't really necessarily been untapped. Okay? Corporate social responsibility. We all know that. We have a social responsibility to sort of basically act for the benefit of the society at large. So my question to you is that let's start small and tap into well, it's actually a big community, not a small community, but it's about 60 million Americans with disabilities. Let's tap in there and let's start by changing our mission. Let's try to say, you know what, we welcome this particular group. We're open to, whether it's workplace, whether it's accepting, or whether it's we're involved in the communities. Those are different ways that we can do it, and I can explain to you with different examples of companies that are already doing that, as well as nonprofits. And then employer resource groups. I'm sure we all have that, or I'm sure the bigger companies does, that each employee-managed, independently managed groups that come in and talks about related issues that could be benefit for the company. So these are just definitions that I would like for you guys to think about. All right, this is the facts. 15% of the world is people with disabilities, including right here in the United States. Very large number. So I'll give you an example, 60 million Americans. 75%, and this is what my dad always constantly telling me, 75% does not need an accommodation. It's true. To be honest, I've been in multiple workplaces, and they think, oh, he's hearing impaired, we've got to put him in a nice, small, quiet place. No. I was working in a fitness gym, noises everywhere during rush hours. It's okay. I can detect all those noises. I've done it before. They don't need to accommodate me. There are some accommodations that I do need it, like a chair where I can just sit on, because before the job was I had to stand. So they made that quick accommodation. So there are ways we can do it. It's just that you got to think outside of the box. Don't close the box. Now, the unemployment rate. So 12.5% are people with disabilities. And those without, it's about 5.9. And I'm looking at it from the U.S. Department of Labor site. So, sorry. And as far as that, Department of Labor recently in 2013, a year after I introduced that idea, they sort of had a goal, a mandate, of a goal of 7% of the workforce that consists of people with disabilities, including different groups. And then now when it comes to accommodations and special facilities, there was no, and I did this from different organization sites, from different national organizations. There were no founded sources that costly facilities. And that's one of the biggest things that we're worried about is the cost of facilities. There really isn't any. And to be honest, there's 2 or 3 employers that I've provided on here that you're gonna see hands-on that they have better retention rates and the better lower high cost of turnover rate. I've been in with 2 employers. Turnover rate was huge, and it was time consuming, and just a lot of money you commit. People with disabilities, like myself, are so passionate that we will not leave, and we will work to work with you, not work against you. That's our mind, that's my way of my thinking. And I've known that that's the same and true for everyone that I have come across with. All right, I'm gonna start with AT&T, headquartered in Dallas, Elizabeth Dixon. I had the pleasure to meet with her at a convention in Austin. And her story is fascinating because she had needed a reasonable accommodation, and she's gonna explain the story behind it. The last part of that video got me, and that's why I wanted to share with you, is that we gotta spend a little more money to get the accessibility. So one of the biggest issues that we had a couple of years ago was technology. How do we incorporate technology as part of the ice cream industry? To be honest, on our phones, they make it easy for us to access different information. So we all need some form or shape of accessibility features to incorporate and better our everyday lifestyle. So one thing I always tell employers that, if you want to increase energy in your building, why don't you get solar panels? That can actually boost it spends more money initially, but later on the results are endless. This is the same thing, investing in the disability community, because you never know what kind of great results that you can get back from that. All right, Bank of America, support service. I did this 3 years ago. They had a support meeting where they allowed employers and the public to know about what they're doing. Support services, that gentleman right there on the far left, that happens to be a good friend of mine. He happened to be placed in there, and literally a support service department within a Bank of America. They have multiple locations, but Dallas is their most successful market. They process loans for Bank of America, and they have different types of settings, sort of like a distribution center, but it's more so each person has a particular task. They're changed up every single day, but they love what they're doing, and they're doing that 10 hours a day, roughly. It's amazing. This video was made during the Special Olympics, this year. So when I see that, it melts my heart, and it takes me several days to digest and witness the results. Okay? That's the kind of vision that I would like to see in every workforce. Couple takeaways. One is every employer works with a specific community partner that not only does everything for them, but it enables them and teaches the employees of the employer of the results and what they can do to incorporate them as part of our everyday life and every workday life. So that was one big thing that's to take away from, is that not only we witness the office setting, somebody who's running as a management, the other is people working together, similar disabilities that are working together in the same support services that are processing loans. But then the reaction and the support, the results stands out. And if you can partner with the local Special Olympics or the ARC or Best Buddies organization, there's always looking for employment opportunities. And they're the ones that can work directly with you to initiate such acts. So the next video I want to talk about is, Walgreens distribution. We all know Walgreens, right? Many of us work with Walgreens, but just know what they're doing behind the scenes. What are they doing at the distribution centers? And you're going to hear something that could potentially eyes open. This guy right here is Randy Lewis. He is my ally, my friend. I consider him a celebrity in this industry. He is a true advocate. He had a position on the management team and told him, look, how are we going to invest in them if we don't even try at first? And he tried, and the results were amazing. So from this video is the ability to recognize that many of the workers in the distribution centers are deaf. It is completely loud in there. I've actually had the experience in Waxahachie and go in the big warehouse, and it was just too loud. But the fact is that all of their workers are deaf. They don't hear, but what they can see, and they can work, and they actually train them on site, where they show them, there's a lot of the things that can be heavy. So we tell them to pick up weights. Try to pick it up, see if you can lift up some weights. Now they do stores, which is remarkable. And they allow at least 2 or 3 workers per store. And they work in, and they actually place items on the shelves. There are just a lot of ways to think about it. So let me give you guys a little tip. When we're identifying positions, when you say customer service representative, identify the specific task. For me, I know how to answer telephones, I know how to send emails, I can talk to one person one-on-one. Those are all related under customer service. So identify specifically the skills that they can contribute to a particular position, okay? So the last but not least is Ruth Thompson. She's the founder of Hugs Cafe in McKinney, Texas. And it is remarkable. It just opened up, and they're a nonprofit, and that nonprofit employs 24 people with disabilities, minimum wage. And they have 3 workers that are dedicating volunteering their time to help these individuals. It's a soup-style kitchen. So basically, they work in the morning preparation food. They open for 4 hours. They serve it, and they also close out the evening by cleaning up the centers, preparing for the day. So I'll give you a similar concept that's just about to be open in Dallas, at Highland Park, is Howdy Homemade. As a for-profit, separate from a nonprofit, and a for-profit is going to be employed and run by people with disabilities. But what got it a little bit more amazing, it kind of relates to this industry. They're opening an ice cream shop, an ice cream parlor shop, where they're making their own ice cream. And they're going to do it in Highland Park, which is a very prominent area. So the founder is Tom Landis, who actually employed several people with disabilities. So this is just different types of concepts, different types of experiences that I had the ability to interact with. If you come to Dallas, or any location, I can connect you with organizations that are doing the same good. In fact, if you don't have any plans this afternoon, I encourage you to attend Opportunity Village. Opportunity Village is what I happened to organize within the last 24 hours, or not this last week, but basically they have different types of assembly lines of helping individuals with intellectual disabilities to work in different work environments, whether it's putting away napkins and putting in forks, knives, and spoons. There are just different ways that employers work with organizations to produce things that they don't have the time to do at the workplace. They actually give them work and they actually get paid. So this is a great opportunity for you guys this afternoon to have that ability to interact with other individuals with disabilities. All right, now this comes to the conclusion of the videos. Employer-driven initiatives. You as an employer can create initiatives for your company and for your community. Each of us are from all over the world, or in fact, America, and we cover specific regions or communities that we hand out ice cream to. But what I would like for you guys to do is that these are your tips. These are ways you can try to create an initiative that can help a particular subset of disability community. Like my dad always told me, we're trying to find ways to have social impact. Not necessarily giving, but helping a particular community. So that is adapting to online materials, publications, diversity statements. So I've included, I don't know if, but I will send it over to you if anybody's interested. I have included 2 different types of information, publications that I've researched that can help you the beginning steps of doing such initiatives. And then diversity statements. And part of my call to action today is to include D&I as part of our mission, part of our culture, our drive to make it successful. And that could be creating a separate mission statement that is including and representing and identifying those specific communities that we care about. Providing tap-down training opportunities. That's another subset. You can work with organizations that already provide training, or you can work with me, I'll train you guys. But those are ways that you can do. There are resources available to you that you can do it yourself or work with an organization or company. Locating productive partnerships. Walgreens partner with Goodwill Industries. They do the employment for them, and they actually find the right people that can fulfill positions at the distribution centers, okay? There's another company called EY, and they work with a strategic consulting firm, and they find consultants that are consulting people that have certain degrees that can fulfill a position, and they are people with either people with disabilities or veterans. So there are ways we can do it, and we can elaborate more on a later date. And developing a team or a management that are accepting these individuals or being properly educated on this subject and how we can employ, how do we communicate with people with disabilities? How do our workforce or people without disabilities communicate with people? How do we adapt to all of these things? And to be honest, it's quite easy. You just gotta tap into it, you know? So those are things that I want you to think about. Adapting, providing, locating, and developing. Now, National resources. I told you briefly before, there are resources available to you, and it's free and confidential. Job Accommodation Network, very accommodating site that shows all the different types of documents that are provided to you. You can print, you can access it, and train your employees. Employer Assistance and Resource Network, EARN. It actually helps employers recruit, but mostly advance these individuals into the workplace. Partnership on Employment and Accessible Technology. This is a great resource for you to, if you already have people with disabilities, already working, already identified it to you, you can provide this resource and actually find a way to accommodate them. So I'll give you an example. I have a lady who I've recruited for employment and training. She has mobility issues and she's mute, but she's already had a device that is a speech-to-text device to communicate to us. But the biggest issue is that they were not accommodating her, very simple change to help her move in and out more effectively. So she was in a classroom setting size. I told them, let's try to take 5 steps or up to 7 steps, 5 to 7 steps each side, and to see the results afterward. She was able to move around. She was able to do things on her own, not necessarily being assisted by someone else. So the results can be beneficial at no cost. It's just a matter of accommodating a situation for her. So those are different types of resources that I want you guys to look into. Now, my call to action. My call to action, this is what I hope to be introduction to you guys. This is not my call for you guys to get to work. No, it takes time, and I totally get it. And so one of the things that we can do, the little minor changes that we can do to change our organization, the IAICDV organization, is to add D&I as part of our mission. Our focus to continue to improve and drive the communities that we serve. To be honest, we serve all communities. So let's embrace that. Let's encourage other members to embrace diversity as well. That's one. 2, to include D&I as part of your roundtable discussion. So what kind of the topics can we discuss? The ADA, very simple. Call somebody for you. They can educate you on specific subjects. Self-identification, the importance of that. How to help, some people don't identify. Why? Because 2 things, trust and communication. You need to communicate to them ahead and tell them, look, there are benefits to it. And if you let us know, we can accommodate you reasonably. And 2, they want to trust you. It took me 30 minutes for a classroom of people with disabilities to trust another person with a disability. I literally had to get to their hearts, okay? Another would be disability etiquette. This is part of my training. I educate employers on workplace etiquette. I teach them how to interact with other people without disabilities and so forth. There's just a lot of information under that category. Legislation related, Section 503. I don't think any of us are a federal contractor or subcontractor, but this is just something that you guys can be aware and familiarize when doing such initiatives. ERGs, employer resource groups, training new employees and current staff. Part of our mission is you need to train those current staff members and those new members, is to incorporate disability diversity or any type of diversity inclusion initiatives. And last but not least, get local. Get local with organizations or partners or school districts or colleges or so forth. For example, Wells Fargo contacted me. They want me to tap into the schools. They want to work with SPED students in high school, get them trained, and then transition into a full-time career, okay? Another is Amazon. Amazon wants to fulfill their fulfillment centers of people with disabilities. So I got to train the current staff as well as training new members into the workplace. So there are different ways, different initiatives that we can do as a company by embracing our local community partners or those that are doing the most good. And last but not least, before I end this conversation, while this information was blurted out to you, I want you to see all the things that I've done this year. And it is truly, to me, it's emotional because looking at this and putting this all on the slide is amazing, the great things that I was able to do to inspire all people, professionals, people who are transitioning to employment, parents that have concerns or worries, or they think they know what they're doing, but they're doing the wrong step. There are a lot of different people that I had the interaction with. People from Georgia to Phoenix, Arizona, to California, Denver, Colorado, Chicago, Illinois, to the southern part of Ohio, to New York, to Florida. I mean, I'm getting calls every single day and trying to find and help them find a better direction. Not just focused on one, but focus on other things that can benefit them. My hope is that you use my story, and part of my mission is to help educate a larger community into a bigger role in this community. So I want to mention a couple people on here, and that is, I don't know if I see that. Okay, don't worry about it. So that is, in the picture over there, I see Tim Shriver, the chairman of Special Olympics. He was asked to speak with me for several minutes of his time, and it's quite impactful. I met with Randy Lewis, who happened to be in Austin for the United States Business Leadership Network conference, where corporate companies are embracing disability inclusion, including veterans with disabilities. These are just different aspects, but I wanted to each of you to know, as I end this speech today, is to see me as a person, see yourself as a person, see those who you're working with. Look at the outcomes of how far we have come as a company in the ice cream industry, but also as people. I've developed and learned so much in 3 years. You have embraced me, you have included me, and you have always accepted me wherever I go. Imagine we're doing that to a larger community and bringing them in, that you're a part of us. The ice cream industry is a part of everyone. So my hope is that you connect with me as we move forward in educating our workforce and embracing a continuous drive to disability inclusion. Thank you.